Travis Winggood, so I don't think anybody understands the gravity of the situation we're in. I would hope people understand that at least the coronavirus is gonna close down Easter services for everybody. I hope people at least acknowledge that much. But as I've been going over the videos on this channel, and I did it on my other channel, I did a Messiah series, you'll have learned that Joseph Smith was set up by his father, Senior, to be the last days Messiah. And now Mormons who are here for the first time are going, what the hell are you talking about, Travis? There's Jesus Christ. Again, we've been deceived. Do you understand why the Jews don't look for Jesus? There are reasons. And so, if you're unfamiliar with the Kirtland Temple and Elijah coming to Joseph Smith, do you know what day that was? That was Passover, the Jewish holiday of Passover. And what is Passover? Goes back to the story of Moses. In the story of Moses, Moses confronts Pharaoh, the government, the religion, and says, let my people go. Pharaoh refuses. Makes the burden on the Israelites harder. And then plagues occur. And the final plague is the virus that goes around. This is what the Jews are looking for. A man like Moses. And I've gone over the scripture in the Doctrine and Covenants, where Joseph Smith says, a man like Moses will lead the people back to Zion. Of course, we realize that we're in apostasy as a result. In order to go to Zion, the church has to fall into apostasy. And I pointed out Joseph knew that. He knew that he was going to be murdered by his own Mormons. July 19th, 1840. And so I don't know the exact date of when Joseph Smith realized it wasn't going to be him. But he knew that the word of the Lord had to be fulfilled. And so he left prophecies for that time, for that person. And that person is a man. He's not half God with magical powers or X-Men powers, mutant powers, which would be cool. What was the show? Somebody believed they had mutant powers. I can't remember what show was that I watched. Can't remember. It was a girl. Was it Picard? I don't think so. It could. Well, no, they're Star Trek. They're not Marvel. I don't know. It's gonna bug me now. but he's just a man. The prophesied child to be born, to grow up, to become the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the great high priest, like Moses, is just a man. Which means he can experience everything a mortal will experience. He might get coronavirus. He might be poor because he's low of stature. I went over that with you. So he could suffer poverty, and let me give you a Book of Mormon example of an apocalyptic prophecy of him, Abinadi. Mormons all know Abinadi because it's got the word faggot in it. Not that definition. The cigarette smoking faggot. The torch faggot. And Abinadi got revelation in his head. Warn the people that they need to listen because they're going to be destroyed. So Abinadi went out among the people and said, hey, you guys are going to be destroyed. Second coming. Hey guys, you're going to be destroyed. And the people wanted him dead. So he went back into hiding. But the Lord said, nope, don't give up on them. I know they're hard-hearted. Don't give up on them. And so he went back. And it's similar to Alma and Amulek. Alma, likewise, tried preaching to the people and then was going to give up. And then he said, nope, go visit Amulek. And he'll be your partner. Abinadi had no partner. Abinadi was all alone. And so as Moses had Aaron, and Alma had Amulek, Abinadi had no one. He did it himself. Because there was nobody to stand by him. So Abinadi goes back, and he gets arrested. He has disappeared from society. He is tortured. And they think that they're smarter than him because the priests are priests. But he shuts them down with doctrine. Confounds all the people, or all the priests. And King Noah almost gives in. Oh, I'm scared. And the priests say, hey, you're the king. Nobody makes you afraid. Let's kill him. And they kill him. This can happen, guys. He's mortal. He could die. And what's going to happen if he dies? Elijah is also another symbolism of this man. The Jews think he's the resurrected or spirit body of Elijah from the Bible. But no. Because of the things that he's supposed to be able to do is exactly what the Messiah is supposed to do of the Jewish belief. They're one and the same. And so Elijah is not really the forerunner, he is the runner. And so in Doctrine and Covenants section 2, this was back in 1823, after they fixed their problem about losing the 116 pages, which I've discussed with you. Actually, no. This is not it. No. No, okay. No. 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 God. Bruce. So frustrating, Bruce. And we were told, don't touch anything that Bruce did. And so, because he died, he was already dead, I'm pretty sure. But the church went, after we had done this project, being told we can't touch anything that Bruce did. And if you're wondering, Bruce? Who's Bruce? Bruce R. McConkie. He's the one who did all these chapter headings and half of the footnotes of Isaiah, among many of the Book of Mormon footnotes. But after, I'm not sure when it was, I think it was Monson. I think Monson is the one who refused to publish Bruce R.'s work anymore. And so Mormon Doctrine, for example, you have to buy it used now, because I don't think there's a store that will now publish his book, republish it, unless the family's taken it over. I remember seeing the downtown bookstore, the used bookstore, and just seeing Bruce R. McConkie's Mormon Doctrine just piled in piles. Everybody gave theirs up. But, yeah. So, no. Yeah, if this is, history of the church. So, 1838, when this was written by Joseph Smith, which corresponds with his history of the church in Pearl of Great Price. They just turned it into a section. And so, behold, I reveal unto you by the hand of Elijah the prophet, before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. And he shall, because remember, this is long before, supposedly long before the Kirtland Temple thing, even though it was written after. He shall plant in the hearts of the children the promises made to the fathers, and the hearts of the children shall turn to their fathers. And so maybe it's 1838 when Joseph Smith realized that's why he was doing the history of the church. Maybe he realized he was not the one, but just made it appear like it was, because he did the Kirtland Temple thing, claimed Elijah came, and then in 1838 he does this thing. So maybe that's what's going on. But here's the thing that makes me wonder. And it comes from Malachi, but if it were not so, if Elijah does not come, if he is murdered, the whole earth shall be utterly wasted at his coming. And so, like I said, this is in Malachi. And Malachi has it differently worded. I'd have to check the Hebrew to check the translation. 6. Yeah, the church doesn't cover anything of it. Here, Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. And he shall turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to the fathers, lest I come. See, notice how it was worded there? He says, I will send you Elijah before the great and dreadful day of the Lord, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. Now let's go back to what Joseph Smith said. Behold, I will reveal unto you the priesthood by the hand of Elijah the prophet, before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. If it were not so, the whole earth shall be utterly wasted at his coming. And his is not capitalized. You see what Joseph was doing there? Joseph understood the Jewish traditions. His father was involved in Jewish mysticism. But as a man, they can be murdered. They do die. The question is when. Now, I've often wondered, because I'm sure many of you are aware that there is an eventual total solar eclipse coming on 2024, on the 8th of April. On the 8th of April, Jupiter, who I've already identified as this Messiah, he's in the sacrificial ram constellation, Aries. And the total solar eclipse is in Pisces. And so I'm wondering if this may actually be our fate. If it were not so, the whole earth shall be utterly wasted at his coming. That's what the enemy wants to do. They want to render the earth utterly wasted at his coming. And if I need to use the Disney movie Lion King, again, you have a father who is to who dies. The son is to be the successor, but he gets chased into the wilderness, just like the Egyptian story I've been telling you guys about. And the bad brother, the uncle to Simba, takes over the throne and utterly wastes the Pride Lands. That's the prophecy here. That's the prophecy of the Egyptians. That's the prophecy or the symbolism of the Lion King, the Disney version. There's an African tale that they stole from and made it different, but that's what Disney does. But you'll notice that Scar represents the Nazi agenda. As the guys go marching by, the hyenas march by, and Scar stands above them, just like in Nazi Germany. And that's what we're looking at here. Trump is a white supremacist. He's got Stephen Miller, who's a neo-Nazi. This is what they've been doing to America. This is why we're locked up during this coronavirus, because they consider us a disease that needs to be locked up and separated from our families, as they utterly lay waste to America. Other nations are starting to pull out, but they've done it by escalating fascism, locking people up. That's why China is successful. They lock people up. They take away your privacy. They compel you as to what you're supposed to buy and when you should buy it, and how much time you can spend with it, if it's a product. And isn't that the kind of life you want? Because that's what we're turning into. Like I said, I don't think you fully grasp what we are turning into, the dire conditions we are in. The whole earth will be utterly wasted at his coming if he does not succeed. And so I have the video in the front of my channel now, so that when you return, or if you click on my channel for the first time, which YouTube says you're not doing anyway, you'll see that video. Are you looking for the true Christ? And you can say, well, if I were in Joseph's time, I would have helped protect him, keep him from being assassinated in the Carthage jail, and I would have stood by his side as he was being falsely accused and blah, blah, blah. But what about now? There's a scripture for that. I'm not going to go over it. But, you talk about wanting to be in the days of the great prophets, and that you wouldn't have disobeyed them. And so you think that by obeying Nelson, Monson, Hinckley, all the way back to Brigham Young, that you think you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and that God will justify you. And you forget the church closed during the crisis. They're a charity religion, and they closed during the crisis. They weren't prepared. They were telling us all these decades, be prepared, have a supply of food, be self-reliant. And they themselves are not prepared. They closed. People really willing to let humanity die? Your children, your other family members, your friends. Do you seriously want that? Do you seriously want to be in bondage? Do you seriously want your life controlled, where you have no agency? Where you cannot pursue what you love, but have to do what you have to because you're told and ordered to. In section 3, which is written by Joseph Smith Sr., as I've been telling you, starts off, the works and the designs and the purposes of God cannot be frustrated, neither can they come to naught. And there is that Doctrine and Covenants passage where if your enemy overcomes you, but you were being faithful, the Lord still accepts your offering. But again, this isn't one of those times where you can say, oh well, we tried. Because, again, it's prophesied as an option, because the guy is mortal. If it were not so, the whole earth would be utterly wasted at his coming. There are two scenarios in prophecy. One, is Zion exists and everybody flees to it for safety, refuge, and peace. The other, earth, shall be utterly wasted at his coming. The Book of Mormon provides even another one. The earth gets wasted, and then Jesus comes and sets up Nephi as the King of Kings during the millennium in the Book of Mormon Nephi lands. And obviously that's not a history, but that's a third scenario. That he would survive the wasting of the earth and would have to start from scratch with whoever else survives. And hopefully they preserve the records of the people so that they can teach the people what happened. And so the Book of Mormon has Ether and Moroni, who are the last of their kind to record the destruction of their people. Even Nephi, I guess you can say, because he wrote the records as the Jews in Jerusalem were destroyed under the Babylonian captivity. That seems to be the main one that the Book of Mormon warns about to prevent from happening. But the Jesus in America one, he says, where are the records of Samuel? And so there is a possible option that the records of the people may not be preserved, or the right records of fulfilling the prophecies. Because that's what Samuel the Lamanite did, was he said, hey, there's going to be signs in the heaven, all these prophecies coming to pass, and Christ will come. And then all of it is apocalyptic literature. That's the coding. I've been telling you about the coding. So if you're familiar with the plagiarism in the Book of Mormon, unless you're a hardcore Mormon and refuses to acknowledge the existence of plagiarism, as apparently you didn't get taught it in school, or you're like a Trumpite who just denies knowing that they're wrong, but they're just causing a conflict. My sister pulled that on me as a kid. I couldn't believe it. She just outright lied and denied what we both know to be true. I was like, what the hell? My sister? Is something wrong? Because I couldn't believe it. She just flat out denied what we both knew to be true. And she got angry and was at the verge of physical violence. It was weird. And no, she had not hit puberty. She was a little girl. And so I've seen that with my peers growing up. They were the neocons, the rising generation of what became the neocons. And so I saw it coming. And so it didn't surprise me when Bush took over and started the neocon movement. But to see Mormons adopt both the neocon ways, the Trumpite ways, and my sister's flat out denial and lies, knowing what the truth is, purposely to get their way, even though it's based on a lie. So, well, YouTube tells me that you gave up on me already. And so I'm going to do a little test. MD, if you're listening and you claim to be so we'll put this to the test. How you doing? Get toilet paper again yet? All right.